We're going to go ahead and make a start. Great staff turnout this morning, by the way. And so I guess for one of the pleasing things for our parents, our parent community, parent guardian community is the fact now, like since COVID, obviously we started to record nearly everything that we do. And so although attendance might be smaller this morning, this will be shared broadly with the CCS community, which we're really excited about. The aim of this meeting is to just update people on kind of the program, the wonders of the program, and I'm not going to pull my punches today in terms of my pride at what we offer. One of the most important things this morning is you're going to get to see firsthand what our end product is like, and that takes me back to 2008, which was my master's dissertation about students. Are they customers? And that piece of work was not stunning by any stretch, but it largely concluded that students are products, because you start with a raw material, you add value over the sequence of a program, and then you turn something out at the end which you are just remarkably proud of. And so we thought, rather than kind of talking about what our students look like at the end of the program, we would just show you. So I'm pleased to have some of our high school students here today. I appreciate them volunteering or being voluntold. So today we're going to cover and there's quite a lot for us to pack in, and we'll be sharing the slides, the video, and I've got a document for people at the end as well. But we're going to talk about outlining the features, the unique features of the upper school program. We really want to take the opportunity to differentiate between what's so special about project-based learning, what leads to that depth, that richness, that rigor. And so we've got our academic dean who will be talking at some length about that. We want to talk about the many ways that the upper school program promotes skills development for our students, and then we want to profile some of our students, and then we also want to provide some additional materials. We want to talk about student life opportunities at school as well. As we all know, a good education is so much more than just the stuff that goes on in the classroom. It's stuff where things are extended beyond the classroom, and we're very, very fortunate to have a second outstanding dean who leads our charge in that area. So that's kind of the trajectory for today's hour. I always tell people that I will never overrun, and then I always overrun. So if it gets to about 10 o'clock and you feel like you need to leave, then just exit slowly. Before we jump in and start with all the kind of the heavy stuff, the teaching and learning stuff, the rigor, I'd like to introduce our first student, which is Lazo. He's going to come up. He's a high school student. I'm going to let him speak for himself. In fact, Lazo, if you want to come over this side, I'll change the angle of the TV, and then our guests can see.
I appreciate that.
All right, he's going to talk you through what his experience has been like at CCS and some of his kind of key things that he'll take with him.
All right, how's everybody doing? I'm Lazo. And I guess today I'm just going to talk to you guys a little bit about, like he said, my experience with CCS, especially in high school. So I'm a National Honor Society member. What that means is that you're accepted based on your GPA and the activities that you do around school. And we do a couple of service projects every year. This year we're doing a book drive. So come donate some books. The most interesting project I've ever done here, obviously you guys all know that CCS is really, really big on project-based learning, and what that would mean is, as opposed to just taking an exam and sitting down and memorizing questions and regurgitating information, you're actually kind of diving a little bit deeper, and you have to present and explain the things that you learn to other people, because obviously, as most people know, if you can teach it, that means you probably understand it. So the most interesting project I've ever done was a project in my 9th grade biology class about how music can affect the human brain. It was really interesting. It talked all about the ways that music can kind of enhance your cognitive reasoning and stuff like that. It was a really long time ago, but all in all, I remember really enjoying it, and I remember really enjoying presenting it and talking about it to all the people that were in the audience. For my internship experience, juniors and seniors at CCS do a majors program, and essentially what that is we go out in the workforce and we find a job or a field of study that we want to learn a little bit more about beyond just the classroom, and typically it's something that's not provided at school directly. For my 11th grade major, I did sound engineering, so music production, wrote a couple songs, recorded a couple songs, and then for 12th grade I did architecture, and what that is 3D modeling and parts, buildings, rooms, things like that. And with all of that, I was able to be accepted to USC in Columbia, Wofford, and the engineering school at Clemson. And after after CCS, I plan on pursuing aerospace engineering at USC Columbia. They have a really, really good program. I'm really excited about it, and it's not too far from home, so you don't have to come home and get a laundry done. And lastly, I guess my favorite thing about CCS would be the relationships that you can build with the community here. It's smaller, so you kind of know everybody by name, you know, because obviously when you go to a bigger school, you know a couple of people, but for the most part you're seeing kind of unfamiliar faces. Here that's not the case. You know most everyone, especially if you've been here as long as Ella and I have. So yeah, that's all. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Will. All right, seamlessly we're going to just go straight into Jasmine's going to talk about her experience and some of the choices that she's made in her upper school career. Thank you, Jasmine.
Sorry. Well, hi everybody, I'm Jasmine. I'm a senior here at Charleston Collegiate, and I've been going here for about 7 years. I've been here since 6th grade when I started middle school. But I don't know, I'm pretty cool, I guess. I get a lot of good grades. I'm an all-A student. I got the dean's list at our most recent award ceremony. I've been accepted into 4 colleges. If you want me to list them, there's Florida Southern, College of Charleston, Johnson & Wales, and Wofford College. But I'm deciding that I'm going to go to the College of Charleston. I'm going into psychology. So hopefully I'll have fun. It'll be great. I'm really, really wishing. My favorite thing about CCS, I kind of also took Lawson's answer, is the community. For me specifically, I play 3 sports all year round. I'm in volleyball, basketball, and soccer. And in each of our teams, we have students coming in from different grades, so they're all different ages. I think the youngest on our soccer team is a 7th grader. But we all get to know each other really well, and we're all super close-knit despite the age difference and despite the fact that I don't see them at all because they're in a whole different zone, especially with COVID. But we get along really, really well, and our teams are always just super, you can go to them for anything, and it's pretty cool. That's all for me.
Thank you. Good job. Okay. Jasmine talked about starting in 6th grade in Lazo, and you'll hear from Ella afterwards, talked about joining much earlier than that, and the curriculum is built around this method of transition about nurture, grow, and lead. And what you'll see in the next few slides is programs that engender and foster leadership and kind of exerting their own choices, exercising their own choices. So by the time you get into upper school, we're very, very focused on building self-agency, building autonomy, having them have a huge amount of choice in terms of the direction that they want to go in for their studies, and their internships. And so we're going to talk about some of the more unique program features that exist. I could spend days talking about this because of just the sheer volume of unique features that we have, and I'll pick some of the ones out that I think are particularly salient or might be of interest. In terms of curriculum, like I said before, Liz is going to talk about that at some length. But projects, I'll kind of set that to one side, but I think the individualized nature comes through in so much of what we do. So if you're a 9th grade or a 10th grade student, then you can pick pre-majors in 9th and 10th grade, you can pick special effects makeup, think like a physicist, interior design, what else can you pick? Somebody help me out, what else is on that list? Yoga, you get the idea. So there's this huge kind of scope of programs for students to choose in 9th and 10th grade. And they're built around the career clusters. So they're built around introducing our students to different vocations. So once they've been through that in 9th and 10th grade, it starts to help them to decide what they might like to do in 11th and 12th grade when they get into those kind of more meaningful and those meatier internships. That majors program starts in 5th grade at the moment. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they're exploring different vocations, different things they might like to do before going on to do an internship. Another way that individual or choice comes through is in their projects. Oftentimes we give the students a huge amount of choice about how they demonstrate their knowledge, how they demonstrate their learning. And so gone are the days where the teacher says, or certainly at CCS, where the teacher says, and now you're going to take this test, or now you're going to reproduce this learning in the way that I've decided that you should reproduce it. Is oftentimes we'll say to our students, come up with a way of demonstrating the things that are on this rubric. So these are the things that I need to see from you to see that you've mastered this topic or this subject. You go ahead and let us know how you would like to deliver that. And so that choice, that opportunity to demonstrate things in a number of different ways is remarkably important. When we tour parents, they say, oh yeah, I think my son or daughter would like that. And I always have the same reply. I say, everybody's son or daughter likes that. because I've never met a student that doesn't want to have some input into how they learn, steer on their own direction, or how they demonstrate their learning. Another great example of choice and individualized learning is internships. I know that Ella will talk a little bit about that when she comes up in a few moments. And Jasmine and Lazo's experience of internships has been very, very different. In their junior year, they go off campus on a Wednesday afternoon, and then in their senior year, they go off campus on a Wednesday for the whole day. So on a Wednesday, our seniors get up and they go to work, and we love that for them. They don't come to school, they go to work. And so that, of course, is preparing them for life beyond the school gates, life beyond college, because eventually education will conclude and you'll have to go get a job, right? And so we want to prepare them for that. Entrepreneurship, we're very, very fortunate because we have an absolutely stellar entrepreneurship program and teacher. And so we're very, very lucky. Miss Sowers is our entrepreneurship financial literacy person in middle school, and then I do a little bit of that with the students in the upper school. So this year they're writing business plans. So to demonstrate the knowledge that they've acquired and how to write a business plan, that of course is a really vocational skill, but you guessed it, they get to write about a business. They do a business plan for a business of their choosing. And we look at how they can monetize their skills, monetize their hobbies, monetize their talent. So it's really cool. So that's a little bit from the kind of the unique curriculum, and again, you'll hear a little bit more from Liz about that. Career and college readiness, obviously internships. They go out on an internship in 8th grade, they do a little work experience, they do a big project about that with Jenny and Letitia. We pair humanities and financial literacy. So starting that conversation nice and early. We do ACT and SAT prep in 10th and 11th grade. 11th grade we get really, really big on the college research. So their character ed program in 11th grade is on college research. And then they come and do a unit with me in class, these guys did it last year, which is the financial implications of investing in a college education. So we look at the economics of going to college, as in cost-benefit analysis, payback period, net present value, return on investment, and that kind of thing. So they're looking at that from just a really scientific perspective, as well as looking at what they want to go and do. So that's really, really cool in terms of preparing them for college readiness. Real life skills, we actually teach skills at school, and every school says that, but what I mean by that is we have classes in skills. So we have a critical thinking class, we have a data analysis class, and so we're teaching those skills very intentionally and very explicitly. Our view of education at Charleston Collegiate is that knowledge is only ever a Google search away. So you need to learn that content, but the thing that's going to be really, really timeless in your career, the thing that's going to be ultimately transferable, is going to be your success skills. And so obviously children born today are expected to have anywhere between 15 and 20 different employers in their lifetime. If you look at your grandparents, they might have had 1 or 2 or 3 employers in their lifetime. So they're going to need to be dexterous, they're going to need to be flexible, they're going to need to be adaptable. And we believe that teaching success skills enables and facilitates that. We have a jobs program as well. That's very different to the internship program. That's a little bit about how we engender responsibility and agency at school. That starts in middle school. Pre-COVID, that would be nominating people wiping down the tables, helping teachers set up for events. So just starting to engender a little bit of take care of your own area. In high school, we have a reading buddies job program. So 10th grade students read with 3rd grade students, which is a wonderful partnership and speaks to the community that Jasmine and Lazo both spoke about before. Doing something for somebody else, that's an important life skill and an important personality trait. Oaks and Acorns, again, these are our oaks and they work with our acorns, our younger kids. So again, some peer buddying, some mentoring programs, really important. And then I'll let Liz talk about this in some more detail, but the digital portfolio is absolutely brilliant. So our students build a digital portfolio, more commonly referred to in school. Our in-school language for that is a Weebly. And they document all of the projects that they've done during their time at Charleston Collegiate. And so what they effectively walk out with is an electronic resume of their time at Charleston Collegiate with details of the products that they've made, the exhibitions that they've hosted, the projects that they've explored and enjoyed. And so to be able to show that at maybe a college or university interview, or to show that at a job interview, or to show that when you go along for an internship, it's just a wonderful thing to have. So we really love that. It's deeply, deeply reflective. We ask the students, what, so what, now what? And they have to talk about what they did, why they did it, and what those next steps are, how it benefited them as a learner. And reflective learning is the richest learning. Finally, over here, the enrichment and opportunities that we offer. I think a key feature of that small and intimate community is our ability to be able to support our students. We know every single student. We know their name. We know their interests. We know their passions. We know when they're having a good day. We know when they're having an off day. And they know that of each other as well, which is just a wonderful thing to see. Because of the size of our community, we don't have bullying. We don't have anything like that. Do we have disagreements? Of course. Conflict is an important feature of growing up. Is it learn how to handle those things? But it's just a really, really nice place to come to school. It's friendly. It's supportive. Our kids advocate really well for themselves. They tell us when they're struggling. They tell us when they need something. And because of our numbers, we're able to give them what we need. And so I think that's going to be a critical thing strategically for the school as we embark upon any type of growth model, is to make sure that we grow at a rate where we absolutely keep that unique feature of our school, because it's not like that in a lot of other places. Other things, we've got Wintrim goes on in high school. That's a week-long immersive learning experience. This week it'll be March 22nd through March 26th. Previously, that's included trips to Spain and Costa Rica, Australia. Last year they went for, Ella might tell you that tale. I heard a chuckle in the background. I think, how long were you in Australia, Ella?
1 day.
1 day. So we flew her there. We gave her a 1-day immersive learning experience, and then we brought her back again. And so obviously that was around COVID. And so we're really excited for our students because Wintrim was cancelled last year. Wintrim this year, obviously for safety reasons, looks a lot different. It's local. No one's really going out of the state. Most people are staying, and they're day trips instead of residentials. But we're still doing it. We are not prepared to just cancel that this year because it's a little bit harder for us to arrange. We want our kids to have that experience. It's going to be very cool. And again, in a normal year, and to an extent this year, the whole of the high school mix it. So it's not that 12th grade go to Costa Rica and 9th grade go to, I don't know, the Grand Canyon. They can mix, and so 9th graders will make great friendships with 12th graders on those trips. They'll get to know people in other grades. And in a normal year, there's typically about 100 students in the high school. So that gives you a little bit of a sense of size and scope. Community service. Miss Sals will talk about that. I don't want to steal all of her thunder. Some devils around town talk about that as well. And then the interventions and support. I think we have three parent meetings this week with different parents, different students in different high school grades. And that might be, hey, we just need you to come in. We need to do a quick checkup. The student attends those meetings. They're high school kids, and so we want them to be there. They will lead those meetings, and then when we have conferences, we have them twice a year. This year they're on, the next one is March 15th. We have student-led conferences, so it's, hey, how are you getting on? What do you need, and how are you going to chart this course to make sure you're going to be successful? So the support is very, very good. I think our students know very well. They can just come to us and say, I need this. And we say, okay, well, let's figure that out. Okay, and that's something which we're very, very proud of. I'm very, very proud of this slide. I won't tell you how long I spent with the colours and the design, and I guess this is me showing some of my creativity, but we wanted to capture in a one-stop shop. I think so many parents know that we're a project-based learning school, and I think sometimes people wonder, what exactly does that mean? And of course, there's a good understanding of that in our community, in our parent community, but for the people that work here, there's a very, very deep and rich and researched understanding of what that means. And so for us, this is just a great way of just summarising the key differences between what a traditional learning experience perhaps looks like, or a CCS experience. And if I think back to some of my school days, some of those learning experiences were very, very passive. The teacher told me, okay, we're doing chapter 6 today. I didn't know why we were doing chapter 6, I just know that it followed chapter 5. But here our students know why they're learning, they understand the umbrella concept under which the components of learning fall and what it's building towards. And when you're in an internship and you've got a boss, you very, very quickly realise that is not a passive experience where you sit behind the plant in the staff room, you are doing stuff. And the other thing I'd say with that, that's one of the key things for me, the active or inquiry based learning versus passive learning is when it comes to do an exhibition, there is nowhere to hide. You cannot just cram the night before and hope that the right test questions come up on the paper. You can't be a great test taker and just pass that midterm pass that end of year exam and then just put your feet up and just coast for the rest of the year. These guys are doing exhibitions month after month after month. And when you're stood there and the public in a normal year are coming to watch you, you better know your stuff. And of course, we have dry runs and all that kind of stuff, but there's something very, very pleasing about just saying, okay, this exhibition day, we'll be over here, we'll be watching and we'll be supporting. We're proud of you, but it's go time. And so we had some majors exhibitions for our juniors last week, and they were stunning. And I won't try and recount what I saw, but I did say to the fellow member of staff that was watching the one that I was watching, and to the student who had delivered it, it made my eyes water with pride. I started to tear up at watching it because it was just, I was just so unbelievably proud. I just thought, you can't get this in an exam paper. An exam will not change you in the way that delivering this exhibition will change you as a human. And so that's my mini rant over for the time being. But just very, 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 very proud to see that. We're success skills driven rather than content driven. We're cross curricular rather than linear. I came from an IB school. I worked there for 5 years. Love the IB program. It's very, very good. It's second place to a project-based learning program in my opinion. That's why I moved from an IB school to a PBL school. And they were great, but they were linear, so that you did 2 years of study, 2 years of homework, and then you took 2 exams at the end. And at the end, you'd see. I just thought, what's this giving you? It's giving you scores to move on, which is important. But what's it giving you as a person, as a learner, as an autonomous young adult? And I still can't quite figure out what the final product of that experience would be. Okay. If you're like me and you like diagrams rather than lists, then this is kind of what a PBL experience looks like. And if that one doesn't work for you, then hopefully that one does. So it's student at the heart of what we're doing. It's student at the centre, teacher as facilitator, teacher as coach, teacher as expert still. Our teachers are unbelievably good. But it's not, hey, sit, listen to me, hang on my every word, I'm the giver of knowledge and you are the recipient. We don't believe that's the right way that teaching and learning should be conducted. Okay, in case you want the technical stuff, I actually have a handout for you guys at the end, which is our school profile, and that's what we send to colleges, which tells you, or tells the colleges all about the program that our young people have pursued at Charleston Collegiate. I have a paper copy of that at the end for everybody that wants a copy. But these are our graduation requirements in terms of this is, but remember, this is just the stuff that's going to go on the transcript. What sits underneath that is the living, breathing projects that our kids get to do. At this point, I'm going to welcome Ella, and she is our final student presenter, and take as long as you like. And she's going to talk you through her high school experience, and in fact, probably her Charleston Collegiate experience.
You gave me lots of extra things to talk about, so thank you for that.
All right.
I'm Ella. I've been at CCS for, 11, 12 years. I came here first grade and I just never left. So the thing that I really want to talk about is my internship experience and sort of like what comes with that. So this year I'm working at MUSC, specifically in the research nexus, and I'm working firsthand on COVID-19 vaccine studies. So what that is I basically shadow nurses, and I help in the vaccine rooms, I help in the venipuncture rooms, stuff like that. So I'm like right there on the front lines almost in this groundbreaking study. And I absolutely love it. I have work friends now, so all of the nurses I've grown really close to. I go in from like 8 and I leave at 2:30, so it's a lot of time and it's a lot of work. 30-minute lunch break, that's it, but I really enjoy it. And while I was doing my internship, I sort of heard about bioengineering and like biomaterials, and I was like, that's really cool. I don't really know what I want to do in college, so might as well apply for that. So I'm actually going to Clemson University. I was accepted into the engineering program, and I'm going into bioengineering in the fall. And basically my favorite thing about CCS, they already stole it, but it means the school's doing something right. So I love the family aspect of the school. Basically, I've made some of the best relationships I've ever had from the students and the teachers here. And another thing that I sort of want to talk about, it's not in the main curriculum, but it's just something I'm doing off the side that CCS has really helped me with. So this year I was nominated as a Students of the Year candidate for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And basically what that is I'm leading a fundraising team trying to raise awareness and funds for blood cancer. And this is a very personal thing that I'm doing. One of the CCS graduates last year, John Hagan, had leukemia when he was little. So I grew really close to him through the school, and I was like, I want to do something to make a difference. And this is basically a 7-week-long competition, and I've raised almost $25,000 for leukemia research. And a huge part of what that means is I'm meeting with like business owners and everyone trying to get sponsorships and trying to convince these people to invest in what I'm doing. And that's a bunch of public speaking. And I've done so many exhibitions over the years that my campaign manager was like, you speak better than some of my colleagues, and you're a senior. So just thanks to CCS for that, and just for making me the person I am today. That's all I have.
All right, I think at this point we're going to welcome Liz Boyd. She's our curriculum dean. She's going to talk about the rigors of PBL at Charleston Collegiate. Thank you.
So Ella's right, you know, her public speaking skills have grown so much because of, if you think of her high school career, and actually even her middle school career, that, you know, put her in front of people every year, over and over. And so, you know, the same with Lazo and Jasmine, they all can get up in front of a crowd, and they've got their research, they know their subject matter so well that they can present it. And that, like Lazo said, you know, you can teach it, it's a demonstration, you really know it. So how does all of that happen, right? How do we get these students able to present what they know? And that comes through our project-based learning experience. At the end of the day, we all go to our jobs, and we all know as adults that the workforce landscape has changed so much over the years. And if you think about the workforce that our students will be entering, it looks very different from what it did 10 years ago even. You know, they don't have to memorize lots of knowledge, they just have to know. They have all of these smartphones and all of these databases and, you know, all of this research that they can pull out, right? So no longer do they have to just have this storehouse of knowledge. What the workforce is moving toward is all of those success skills that they need. They need to be prepared for all of the things that Mr. Cook said earlier about leadership, collaboration, how to research, how to solve problems, how to dive into project management and come out in the very end and present what they know, right? If you think of your day-to-day work world, no one says, okay, go finish this project, but you can't use your computer, you can't use your teammates, you can't use anything else to help you, which would be what schools have typically done in the past with a test, right? So no longer, you know, are our students going to just need knowledge. They need all of those other skills, right? So the workforce is changing, so we need to adapt as schools. That's why project-based learning works so well, to prepare our students for the next stage in life. So how do we do that? Again, comes the question of, okay, you know all of those requirements that Ryan put on the screen, right? College needs to see that we've done all of our science, all of our math, all of that core curriculum stuff. We still have all of that. We still make sure that our students are prepared for that knowledge. A lot of places say that, you know, we do projects, and yes, you know, a lot of places do projects, but there's a difference between projects and project-based learning. So that core curriculum is infused into what we call project-based learning. When you look at a project as maybe the dessert after you've covered chapter 7, right? So it's the after fact, the after piece. But with project-based learning, it's what a lot of people refer to as the main course. It's what you do to discover that. That's where that whole student-centered piece comes in. Okay, Ryan put those examples on guess I could go back, but the examples of what it used to look like, right, with the teacher in front of the room just delivering the content and telling you what you need to know. Well, in project-based learning, the student is at the center of discovering all of that information. So when we put the student at the center of the learning, the teacher's role is now to engineer how that happens. So, what does that look like in terms of a real project for a student, right? So, 9th grade, our genetics counselors, our 9th graders become genetics counselors. So you can imagine they're studying, the Punnett squares, and they're studying, how does this happen with genetics? How does this happen with reproduction and potentially passing along diseases? So they get to experience what life would be like as a genetics counselor, and they get to counsel in an exhibition. They get to counsel the people who come for their advice, and they get to decide, like, is this too risky based on the research that you've helped me understand? So now you put the student into the opportunity to have choice over what disease you want to research, choice in how they want to conduct this interview with prospective patients, and again, they're demonstrating all of that knowledge. If you look again to our outdoor education program, in 9th grade they're designing games, they're designing these experiences to teach people leadership skills, to teach people how to cooperate with each other, how to advocate and speak up for what they need. But they're, again, the students are the ones at the center of the learning experience. We get to 10th grade, and we are studying about revolutions throughout history. We're in world history class, right? But our world history and our literature study are connected. They're not separated. So everything that you're reading, everything you're writing, everything you're studying has to do with revolutions. In order to then create a metaphor for the public to see how this revolution can be seen through a metaphor. Making a small business selling soaps in chemistry class, combining with entrepreneurship in business class to be able to go to the farmer's market and sell your product. But look at everything that you are learning as a chemist and how to do something that's going to be modeling real life, work world outside of Charleston Collegiate. One of my favorite projects for this 10th grade class this year, they just finished the greatest influencer in Latin American history. Of course, one of our pillars is art and creativity. So this project combined with their language study in Spanish, and it included research, it included Photoshop and poster design, it included public speaking and debate, and I think there's a whole Instagram post if you want to learn more about that project. Definitely, and in non-COVID years, you could go see the display in the high school of all of the posters. If you look to 11th grade, it's kind of that same idea where we're cross-curricular. We're including our reading and writing studies and with our researching skills, and then we're doing these presentations of learning through what we call exhibitions. Who's to blame for 9/11, right? What that does is take this question that we've posed to our students, and they have to go do all the research. And what a tough task that is, right? So that a lot goes into presenting your findings to that answer. I believe, Ella, when you posted your favorite project, I think maybe it came from this year, in the forensics crime stories. I went into the room one day, and they're little graphic, but they're studying blood spatter patterns. They're studying thumbprints as they're, checking out those. And again, they're put in the center of discovering what is forensics. Issues in modern media. Again, the student choice piece. When Ryan says it's very individualized, that comes through student choice, and one way we do that is giving them choice of topics, choices of presentation, choices of how to group their research, how to put together arguments, how to call people into action. And in this Issues in Modern Media, students had to do their research on an issue they found, but they also had to come to the public with a campaign to call students to action, to maybe call to middle school students to put away the phones, get to know your friends, put down the social media. So Ella, even I think Ella's campaign helped her move forward with her LLS study and trying to raise money for leukemia and lymphoma cancer research. So again, all of project-based learning is about making sure that we are doing the learning instead of just being told what to learn. So, I know that was a lot, but hopefully that captured it for you. When we look at that landscape changing and those success skills, the future of what students really need, we talk a lot about success skills. What that is for us is kind of this wheel of the other skills, not just the science and the math and English and the history, right? It's all the other things that help our students grow and develop. So it's developing the whole child, not just those core curriculum pieces. So in order to do that, we have this corner, this personal growth and well-being. That's a success skill that we believe is vitally important to doing project-based learning really well. And to do that, you use reflective learning. You'll see these posters called our KISH feedback posters. And that's just a prompt that we use to help students give feedback. It takes a lot of practice to know how to give feedback well. It takes a lot of practice to receive feedback well. And then it takes a lot of practice to do something with that feedback, to grow and become something better. So as we coach our students and teach our students this reflective piece, we actually see that in play through our digital portfolios. And Ryan mentioned it earlier, but our digital portfolios are where that reflective piece comes into play. At the end of the year, at the end of every year, students have to do an exit interview and present their year portfolio. So students have to stand in front of a panel of adults with their website that they've built. Their website has now captured every project that they've done throughout that year. I have a picture here of Ella's 9th grade humanities. I see a metaphor machine in the back here. I think that's Odysseus's journey back there, maybe? Yeah. Okay. And, so when Ella finished her 9th grade year, she had her humanities projects, her biology projects, her language projects. Everything is on there, her art, her OEC, everything she took 9th grade year. And she stands in front of adults and presents this year's journey of learning. And we call it their elevator speech. It's like you have 30 seconds, a minute, I believe, to present to us. And then we interview you. So not only do you have to give this solid presentation that you've prepared, not only do you have to have your website clean, in-depth, reflective of every project with our protocols that we ask you to reflect on through writing, you have to be ready for this interview. So if you think of all of those success skills that we talked about, right, all of those things that you're doing to demonstrate your learning, all of those things are to prepare you for what you are going to be needing in this future workplace. And we really do believe in the power of this, where it's lots of writing, lots of reflecting. The end of your presentations, you have to demonstrate that you really have grown as a student throughout that year. Let's see. What's next? All right. Our Dean of Students, Letitia Sowers, who taught us about upper school student life.
So they saved the least talkative for last. Good morning. Pre-COVID, during admission tours around campus, when I would encounter the admissions director, I would be introduced as the fun lady. I didn't know how to feel about that at first, but then I was like, If I'm responsible for kids getting on water slides during field day, or singing Taylor Swift at the talent show, or earning $100 because they're the student of the month, I'll be the fun lady. So student life is inclusive of everything outside of the classroom along with inside of the classroom. It's all inclusive and it's enriching to our entire program. So a few examples, we have prom, Spirit Week, and pep rallies. We have community service requirements. As you saw on the graduation requirement slide, each high schooler is required to complete at least 20 hours of community service each year of high school. So by the time they reach their senior year, they have 80 plus hours of community service. It's just another way to give back to CCS. Numerous volunteers for the auction. Okay, so they can serve your CCS community, or they can go outside of CCS and do campaigns just as Ella is doing it, and it all counts towards their requirement. Student government. I oversee our high school students plus some 8th grade representatives. We meet every other week to discuss student life. Everything from planning our Black History Month activities. It's now Women's History Month. And so when we met last week, we planned a month of activities from Women's History. I appreciate student life because I cannot do my job without the students. It says all of these things are mostly student-led. Okay, I'm mostly sitting in as the adult advisor in the room, but our students are leading these meetings. Our students are making these flyers. Our students are selling snacks with me during break. I put that up there. It seems minor, but the snack cart is major. It's a major component to a lot of things we get to do in student life. We have to pay for field day, okay? We have to pay for prom. And so the funds that we receive from the snack cart go to student activities. It's a part of our jobs program. So every Wednesday, my jobs crew go down and restock the snack cart. Just like if they were working at a store, you have to keep your inventory up. So along with students, my job couldn't happen without the collaboration of my fellow colleagues. Collaborating with Miss Bonnie, getting her some volunteers for the auction. Miss Maggie, like I can go on and on with how student life could not take place without students leading it and without my colleagues being supportive and helping implement a lot of these programs. This year is the first year that CCS has incorporated affinity groups into our school life. And so our 2 affinity groups right now are high school only. Our first affinity group is the LGBTQ plus affinity group, wherein students that may identify as LGBTQ plus, as well as their allies, they come to the meeting every month and we talk about a variety of topics, guest speakers. Our second affinity group are students of color. So the students of color in the high school plus our allies that want to meet with us as a group to just discuss what it's like at CCS as a student of color and what it's like as an ally for those of us that are African American or Hispanic. So I look forward to that expanding beyond high school in the coming years, as well as more affinity groups, religious-based, faith-based affinity groups. The list is endless as to what we can do at CCS. All right, I will move on from this slide. The class of 2021. Again, Miss Ivy is our college counselor, so she has so much to do with our next couple of slides as it relates to the class of 2021. However, as their acting advisor, I've been like their co-advisor, but Miss Ellis left for maternity leave, and now I'm their acting advisor. But along with that, I plan graduation. And so I'm involved so much in their senior life on so many levels, to wherein this slide is a list of all of our seniors and their major for this school year. So as you can see, these students are out in the community or here on campus going to work in interior design. Jasmine is here on campus doing activism and advocacy through writing right here on campus. Ella, she spoke about working at the hospital. We have graphic design, real estate marketing, landscape conservation, communications. That major is also right here on campus. One of our seniors worked last year and the majority of this year with our communications department, helping post Instagram posts, Facebook posts, creating flyers. And so I'm very proud, as of next week, these seniors will be presenting their business solution exhibition. So majors for the juniors, their exhibition looks slightly different from the seniors. They must identify a problem within their workplace and then present solutions to that problem. They're not responsible for solving the problem, but they have to present to us some solutions, the risks, the rewards, barriers, competitors that they have faced or researched as it relates to their internship and work site. So I look forward to that starting next week, their business solution exhibitions. Long list of college acceptances. Again, our counselor, Ms. Ivy, is responsible for all of this. We take no credit because she's worked with these seniors starting last year and into the beginning of their senior year, getting them ready to apply for college by essay writing, scholarship applications. And so as of right now, we have over $234 of merit and need-based scholarships offered to our 13 seniors. Okay, I look forward to seeing where that number is going to be on May 28th when they graduate. And so congratulations to them thus far. Do I do this? I
Why
can,
not?
since I coach.
Why not? You flow.
Miss Boyd and I, and Mr. Ryan, he got his feet wet a little in the coaching aspect with our cross-country team this year and last year. But Charleston Collegiate, we offer a variety of athletic opportunities. And right here are only listed 6th through 12th grade. And I know this is the high school program, but we have athletic opportunities down to 3rd grade.